Hi there and welcome to the beautiful resort of Val d'Este, which is out in Spain near Almeria. We're here for a week, but what I'm going to do today is talk to you about what I believe is golf's secret chipping movement, and it's what I call flail. Now if we look at the great chippers of the game throughout the years, you're talking of the Seveys, the Tom Watsons, the Mickelsons, all these, when they chipped, they had flail in their technique. Now I know it's probably something you've never heard of before, the word, but it's a great term for what I'm about to show you through this video. So before I go through the technique you need for achieving the flail, what you need to practice, let's have a look at the type of situations where flail will really help you. Okay, so you've just seen where flail was needed, and as you can see, they're all tricky chips. So the reason why you need flail to be successful on these tricky chips is because flail gives you lag. So lag is where the club head is lagging behind your hands, which helps to give you a strike, it helps with acceleration, it helps with controlling the ball. So the reason why you can't just put it in a full hinge is that the swing's too long for some of the shots. Some of them, as you saw, it was quite a short movement. So we have to create flail to put a bit of lag in where the swing doesn't normally achieve that movement. So it's the change of direction. If I do it slowly, watch this. So as I go back, it's almost like this. We go like this, and then that change of direction is what we're trying to create. Let me show you that again. Okay, so my hands go back. As they start to come forwards, they flick the club head behind it. So at speed, see that whip? There, that's the flail. I can't just go like this and then back down again. It's not that simple. We have to create the flail to the whip. So if you imagine, let's say you're just whipping a rug at home. So you've got your stick and you whip. It's that whip into it that gives you the power, but also on the more delicate chips where you just hit a little lob shot, it's able to whip under the ball, pop it up in the air and make it land without hardly any energy. So flail, once again, is the change of direction between backswing and downswing, and it puts some lag into the movement where the wrist hinge doesn't get set properly. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you a really good exercise. It's in 3 steps for how to put the flail into your movement. Now this is something which you can be done at home. You don't need a green for this. You can just chip the balls down your lawn. It's nice and easy. Once you get the hang of the flail and it moves in there, that's when you can have a look at going round to a green. So step 1 is what I call the drag. So in setup, you have your feet quite close together and you want the ball middle to forward in your stance. You don't need it back to hit good chips. So middle to forward, so you can have it there. Then what we do, we're actually going to position the club head ahead of the ball. Now club wise, I've got a 60-degree wedge here, but anything sort of 50 and above would be fine. So I'm here, and all I'm going to do here, I'm going to teach myself to drag the ball back with my hands, leaving the club head behind. So in theory, we're just trying to get this kind of movement in there. Remember, you won't be left with this. This is purely a drill to train the change of direction. So we're putting this in there to create that change of direction. So step 1, come in, get yourself into this position here, and watch this. You move your hands, leave the club head behind, and then you flick. Okay, grab another ball, come in, again go back, flick. And again, so I'll do it in slow motion. See that? So I'm stretching backwards. And again, you can just do this all day long. And again, watch this. So if I was to do that movement on a chip, I don't want you to do this at this stage. You're going to need to do a lot of time practicing this. So if I do it slowly, watch this, I'll leave the club head behind. See that? So you saw me leave it behind. That allows me to come in and chip the ball. Okay, so hopefully you've been practicing the drag and you've got that into your movement. So remember, the drag is where we flick the ball backwards. We come in like this and flick it back. We're now going to go on to step 2. Now step 2 is the whip, and that's where we change the direction. So we drag it back and we whip the club head into impact. Now the trick here is to make sure, if I pop a ball down, to make sure that you whip the hands past the ball first, and then the club head can really accelerate into impact. Where most golfers go wrong is that actually the whip happens too early and you catch the floor first, and that causes you to either hit it fat or thin the ball across the green. So the second lesson, which we call the whip, we use 2 balls. So this time we have 2 positioned like this, okay? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do step 1. So I go like this and flick the ball back, and then step 2 where I drive my hand past the ball first. So let's do it in motion. Okay, so I'm here. So watch this. Drag, whip. Okay, let's have another go. So remember, you can see my hand should get past the ball, maybe my leg first. So drag, whip. Okay, and again, you can just do this at home. You don't need the ball to go anywhere. And again, ready? Watch this. Drag, whip. Okay? And again, this one here. So this is really creating this whip sensation that we need, and that's the flail really. So drag, whip. So let's look at step 3. Now, step 1 was the drag. Remember, where the club head leads, that the hands lead the club head back to like this. Step 2 was the whip, where we had them both there, so we dragged it back and then we whipped the hands through. What we're going to do now, we're going to do them 2 together, but just on the 1 ball. So we're going to take the back ball behind. And again, at this stage, still chip down your practice ground or down your lawn at home. You don't need a green for this, because we're just trying to get the movement. And again, this is an exaggerated movement of what you will be left with. So don't think you're going to end up chipping like this, because you're not. That's just not going to work. We have to put it in this way to create the flail. The club head has to almost lag behind the hands going back, and then the quick change of direction is what whips everything in. So you can even talk to yourself. So you can even go drag, whip if you want to. Let's have a go. So the important thing here, again, just feel like you leave the club head there as the hands go, and then you drag them, and then you flick, and then you drive. Drag, whip. And again, I'm not doing it fast, so you might get caught in the ground. Drag, whip. Okay, this isn't about hitting shots, this is about over exaggerating the movement. So again, drag, whip. Okay, that's all we're trying to do. So we go drag, whip. So that's a lob shot. Let's talk about what the lob shot is made up of, because the term of it, or the name of it, lob, in your head, you think you need to get the ball to go up in the air and get it nice and high, whereas actually you just need the ball to stop. So it means like a shot like this, where we've wrong-sided ourselves. I've got a steep down slope, lots of rough. I want to land it on the green and get the ball to stop quickly, which is what you saw there, but perhaps it didn't fly as high as what you might have expected. So because you have the shots played with a very, very open club face, the effect of that is height. But the characteristic of the shot, so the makeup of the shot, is actually you want the ball to land and not run. So you need to understand that first of all. Let me just grab a couple more balls, and then we can go through how to play the shot. So I've got a pretty awful lie here, so it's this tight lie, so we can't really get under it a great deal. And we're going down a steep slope. So the first thing is get the club to point at your target, and I always move my weight onto the left hand side, so the ball is about middle in my stance. I don't have it far enough back. Now the flail itself, which you've practiced, hopefully got in there, you don't need it so much for this shot, because on a lob shot you're actually doing a full hinge, but the part of the flail you do need is this drive here. So you've got to drive your hands past the ball. And in doing so, I'm able to then keep the club face open, and that's the bit that reduces run. Okay, so let's have a go at playing it. Okay, so come into here, weight on the left hand side, so watch the drive, back, drive, you see that, and then you can see the ball get some check and stop quickly. I can do a longer, slower version of it, but it's much harder to play. So this is what you think a lob shot is, like that. And as you can see, I hit it well, but the result is not as close as the first one. So the makeup of the lob shot is you want the ball to stop. So yes, you do need an open club. You have your weight forwards, but it's this drive going through that is the key. If the club head gets there first, because you're trying to get under the ball to lob it up, this is what happens. You end up doing that, and the ball, as you can see, has just gone down there, because the part of the flail exercise I gave you, which was the whip or the drive, that's the bit you failed to get in there. That's how you play a lob shot. And that's how you play a tight lie shot. So let's go through this shot, because most of you golfers panic as soon as you get a lie like this where there's hardly any grass. And you have to remember, you're trying to hit the ball, not the grass, but I understand that it is harder. Now this is where flail is really, really important. So what you'd want to do, too many people have it back. You can have the ball back, I'm not saying you can't, but you have to understand that by moving the ball back, you create what I call is more energy, so more run. So when it lands, the ball's going to run. So let's teach you how to play it, as if you want to get a bit of spin or a bit of stop on the ball. So as you can see, the ball's middle to forwards in my stance, and then I lean in. So everything, again, is favouring the left-hand side. So this time, it's almost like you move away as a unit, and then as you do the flick, you drive. This is where the flail comes in. You can see my hands are going to get there first. That encourages me to get into a good strike. If the hands don't get there first, two things can happen. This, you see where it catches the ground, comes up, thins the ball, and it goes across the green, or the other one where it actually digs into the ground. And all that is because the club head passes the hands too early. So the flail part of your technique now encourages the club head later to pass the hands, and that's where we'll get the good strike from. So you come in, you lean on your left hand side, we're in this position here, so you go back, and again, as you can see, as we do that little flail bit, the hands drive forward. So the important thing here is don't be afraid to strike the ball. And again, this is a 60-degree lob wedge, so the ball's not going to go up into the air as high as what you think, but it will get some spin and it will check pretty quickly. So let's have a look. So we're on this position here, back and through. Oh, hold it. There you go. So that's a bit of luck. Second bounce, it check stopped and then went in to the hole. That's how you play it off a tight lie. Ooh. So you've come up, you've hit two great shots, you walk up to the green and you find your ball there in a hole. Not as bad as what you think. If you know how to play the shot, it's actually quite easy. You've just got to understand what happens to the ball. So we're in a hole, which means that we can't have a shallow path, because you're in a hole, you've got to dig down, you've got to come down steep to either get over the grass, or if it's in a divot, there's still a drop, so the ball's slightly under. So to fix the steep angle of attack, you move the ball back in your stance. So as you can see here, the ball's almost outside my back foot. Okay, my hands are in the same position as if they would be for a normal chip. So therefore the club head goes back, and as you can see now, I've de-lofted the club. So my 60-degree, I don't know, it's probably turns into like a pitching wedge. So once it lands, the ball's going to run a lot. Now the important thing here is not to move your body back. If you move your body back, then you're not doing anything different on the shot. So it's all about where your core is in relation to the hands, in relation to the ball. So your core being your chest. We want to be in this position here. So as you can see, I've set the club. Now I'm going to take my grip, and this time here, this is where the drive really happens. So you go back, and as you do a flick, you drive, so you strike into that ball. Okay, so if I went back with my hands in a putting stroke, I'd get caught there. So the whip that we taught yourselves on the drag back, the flick, that's the bit that's really going to kick into here. So you flick it up, you can drop it down on to the ball. It's almost like you're squirting the ball out. So you do want to see this ball run. You don't want to see it go up into the air. If you've got a bunker to go over, that's just unfortunate. You have to hit the shot where it lands, then it rolls up and on to the green. So if we come out to here, I set myself up, the ball's back, weight on the forwards, little dink, pops out, and there we go. We're running up to the hole. We're about 2.5 foot to the right hand side. That's how you play the chip when you're in a hole. That's how to get out of long grass without the ball going too far. That just popped up into the air, landed and stopped within about 4 feet. So let's go through this one. Let's knock a ball in here so we can't see it. Now, the beauty about this is that no matter how bad the ball is lying, it is never on the ground because of the grass. So you can't see that ball, but it's actually that high off the ground, which enables me to whip the club through the grass under the ball, popping it up. So it's similar to the lob shot that we've played, except that you have a barrier. So the grass acts as a barrier and it wants to stop the club. So the most important thing here is that you've got to get the club out of the grass. So we need a quick whip. And again, just same as the lob shot, if we hit it and as we go through we open up the face, all that's going to do is pop it up into the air. The grass wants to grab the hosel and stop it, so it wants to flick the club head closed, and that can just cause the ball just to bobble out. So if I don't hold it tight, watch this. See how the ball's just shot out over there? It's gone low as well. That's because I didn't hold it tight enough and I didn't get the club through the grass. So we would set the club open, take the grip, and again it's the hinge and the whip. So the whip of the flail is really what's needed here to get it through this grass. Okay, so again the ball's forward in my stance. I mean, this is a deep one. I go back from here, I whip, pop it out, and oh, it's lipped. Okay, so we almost hold it, but to be quite honest, I'll be happy in just getting the ball out. So the important thing is to make sure you hold it tight, whip it through, and don't let the club head turn over. That way, by the flail that's now in your movement, the ball will pop out, and what would seem like an impossible chip becomes relatively easy.